We have something very exciting next. We have the story of Scatman John. And it's such a fascinating story. And it's told by, I think, the only person that can truly tell it, Gina, because she was right there with him. And it is so exciting. And it's such an honor to have you with us today. Gina, thank you. Take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. And great presentation, Daniela and Steph. I enjoyed that. Some good points. Yeah, well, this is well, I should tell you about me first of all. I'm a covert stutterer who's trying to come out for the second time in my life, and avoidance has always been my thing. I nearly bailed on this talk this morning, I tell you, but I'm here. I can hear Scatman John sitting on my shoulder saying, don't you dare not do this. So, and I could see Anita nodding. She knew John as well. So we have a few people here who knew him, I think. So I'm going to just briefly tell you about John's life story. Now, unfortunately, John is no longer with us. He passed away in 1999. But he was one of the greatest advocates for the stuttering community that we have ever had. And I found out recently, I'm writing John's biography, and I also run his website. And because he was famous in the 90s, I found out that people, now some people don't know him at all, which is a shame, and I want to correct that. And a lot of people remember him thinking this was just a novelty song in the 90s, which it was, but there's a whole story behind that, because John was a person who stuttered. He stuttered overtly and all his life, and which is very rare for a celebrity to openly stutter, and he became a great advocate. So I don't know if I can share my screen here for the website. Maybe I can. Here we go. I run John's website, so this helps me to stop blathering off topic. So here, this is John. As you might notice, he was a bit older when he became a pop star, but that's part of the story. I wrote this little bio, and I'm going to run through it, but with a focus on stuttering. There he is, cute kid when he was about 8. He was born in the 40s, so as you can imagine, the attitude to stuttering at that time was nothing like it is now, although some might argue differently. He went to a Catholic school, which was also quite strict and disciplinarian, and when he started stuttering as soon as he started talking, so very, very early on. And he was told he'd grow out of it. I'm sure some of us have heard that. So you'll grow out of it, slow down, take a deep breath. You're thinking too fast was another good one he got told. So on and on. And so there was a lot of denial, unfortunately. And he also had other things going on in his childhood, which I won't get into here. But I think he had therapy, but they tried to make him talk. He said like a robot, like, hello, my name is John. And he said, yeah, okay, who wants to talk like that? So anyway, he continued to stutter severely. And then he was bought a piano about age 13, 14. And he found he could express himself much better at the piano. So he would pour, he was a very emotional and expressive man. He used to pour everything into the piano, and his thing was jazz, which, as everybody knows, is a very expressive musical form, especially when you improvise, you can really get into it. So he found he could express his emotions through jazz piano. And he became, he went to college, he studied music, and he became a very, very good jazz pianist. However, he also started drinking and smoking. And then by the time he was in his 20s, he was into harder drugs. And he said this was a directly caused by his stuttering. Like he said, I would do anything to not stutter, including nearly trying to kill myself with drugs and alcohol. So his problem got quite severe, and it got worse and worse until he was a heroin addict in his late 30s, early 40s. And it was all the way into nearly dying on his dealer's floor and stuff like that. So very bad. And all this to escape the pain of stuttering. And anyway, he cleaned up. He met his wife, Judy, who passed away last year, sadly, but I knew her very well. And he met her in the 80s, and he cleaned up, he got sober. And then he began playing jazz gigs, but around LA, which is where he's from LA, California, which is where I am now, incidentally, researching the book. And it wasn't paying the bills, there's too much competition in LA. So what happened next is that they decided, that John and his wife decided, let's go to Europe, there's more of an audience for jazz there. And he was playing jazz gigs around Europe, like a lounge pianist, like in hotels, singing standards, you know, in cocktail bars and that kind of thing. And one day, his agent, who was booking him into hotels, had an idea, and by now it's 1994, and techno and dance music is all the rage in Europe. And then okay. Yeah, techno is all the rage in Europe, for those of you who are as old as me and remember it in the 90s, what the charts were. And John's agent said, let's put scat singing. He was a good scat singer, which is a jazz form of improvising just using your voice. Now, his stuttering taught him to scat sing, so he could grab syllables and fire them like bullets. He was the best scat singer around at that time, along with people like Ella Fitzgerald, who was a great influence on him. So he was a great scat singer, and they said, let's put this scatting over a dance beat and make a song. And he was a diehard jazz guy, so he's like, yeah, right, okay, whatever. And by now, John was 52. And out pops a record, which was scat singing over dance, and it was called Scatman. And it was released at the end of 1994. And I was talking about this the other day. Because John was 52, they hid his face from the record cover because they're like, oh, we can't have an old guy in front of, like, most of the singers at that time in the charts were like 18. It's like, he's 52, let's hide him. So they did that. And then it just went off like a rocket in Europe. And before the song, or during the recording of the song, John was terrified that the world would find out that he stuttered. He still had so much shame around it. And his wife, Judy, said, hey, why don't you just put it in the song? Put it in the song. And so the lyrics in between the scat singing dealt with stuttering. The whole song is about stuttering. And even people who have heard the song, have danced to it, they don't know this unless you listen carefully to the lyrics. So I'll try and play you the beginning of that song. Nope. Oh, there we go. Sorry. So it started like this, and this is important for how I got involved with this. Is that coming through? No. Okay. So probably best because I don't know about copyright clearance and playing that. But anyway, you can find it on YouTube under Scatman John. It's on 208 million plays. So the song goes off, and it becomes like #1 in about 10 countries and top 20 in I think it was like something ridiculous, like it charted in 64 countries. And that year, John was sold in more countries than any other artist, like any other. It was like John, and then underneath Michael Jackson, Madonna, everyone. He beat everyone that year for sheer spread. Apart from the US, I don't know what's wrong USA, but he only got to number 60 there. So yeah, the song goes off, and then John gets chucked into TV interviews, magazines, radio, a whole mess. And I heard his very first radio interview, and he was trying not to stutter. It was quite unusual for me to hear that. He was over pronouncing his words to get them out. And then after that, he just thought, I'm just going to go ahead and stutter because kids are hearing me, and let's get it out there. So he was then a man on a mission to raise awareness of stuttering, and he talked about it at every opportunity he could, while overtly stuttering as well, which I don't think had happened very much before, and it's certainly not happened much after. So meanwhile, me, aged I think 14, I'm in the car one afternoon, and I hear John Scat singing coming out of the car radio. And at the time, I thought I was the only person in the world who stuttered. I didn't even know it was called stuttering, because I just thought it was all, when I heard more severe people, that was stuttering. I didn't know that what I had was covert stuttering. I had no connections, no knowledge, completely isolated. So I hear this song on the radio, and it's talking about stuttering. And I could tell you exactly where the car was at that moment. It was like being hit by lightning. And I thought that the singer was a young black guy or something, because of the way it sounded. Very, very kind of young, modern, cool sound. And then I saw the music video that same afternoon, and there's this 52-year-old guy with a mustache, and I'm just dancing around. I was like, okay. And then the program put underneath, this man, his real name is John Larkin. He stutters, and he's turned his stuttering into this song. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to find out more about this guy. And I was having a terrible time as a teenager. I was bullied. I was in depression. I was isolated, as I said. My mother had just died. Not a good place. And about a year or so after hearing the song, I wrote to John. I found his email address online in the good old days when it was actually possible to do that in the 90s. And to my shock and surprise, he wrote back. And I think my email was probably a cry for help. I wish I knew what I'd written to him. I have no idea. But I think he sensed the cry for help. And so he answered it. He's like, yeah, I'm just about to perform in Germany, but I'll get back to you. Just hang in there. And he did get back to me, and we started to talk. And it's very unusual then and now for any celebrity to take somebody on like that. I was just extremely lucky. And so we stayed in touch over the years, and he persuaded me to go join the British Stammering Association. He had a couple of contacts there, and then he put me in touch with Anita, who's here, and some other people from the stuttering community, and that began my own journey of, I don't know how to put it, self-acceptance. So I owe him a lot. He saved my life. That is not an overstatement. But unfortunately, he was quite ill. His addictions caught up with him, and he passed away from lung cancer in 1999. And a few weeks before he died, I had a phone call with him. He was saying strange things like, "Oh, my life's falling into a black hole." But then I found out he was dying, and I was in my first week of university. I spent all my college fund that term on a plane ticket to LA to see him, and we spent 4 days together. So that's the story between me and John. So now, 23 years later, I am writing his biography. There is a documentary being made about him, and also a possible movie, because interest in him has gone up and up and up amazingly. The audience he has now is bigger than it ever was then, and people who weren't even born when the song came out the first time round are now hearing it for the first time. And he poured everything into his lyrics. If you look them up, they're all about self-acceptance. John was big on self-acceptance. He always said, do not treasure fluency. You can, when you're fluent, you can accept it, you can like it, but do not chase it, do not treasure it, because it'll come and bite you in the, I would say, but you know. So that's it really. The book will be out in maybe 18 months or so. I'm hoping to talk a lot more about it, and I hope that it raises awareness again of what happens when a celebrity stutterer gets thrust into the public eye, and I'm hoping to bring him back into the public eye. So I think I'm nearly out of time, so I'll quickly look in the chat if anybody has any questions. Oh, I see I need to put the website in there. I'll stop screen sharing, sorry. Yeah, all his lyrics are gold. Yes, they are. Listen to them closely. If you've never heard of Scatman John, go on YouTube and listen to a couple of songs. You may not even like the music, but you will understand what he's saying. And I'll just close by saying one or two things that I really admired about him. And that's, remember, this was the 90s and things were not quite the same as they are now. He had, and it's on YouTube, some audience members laughed at his stuttering. He was in Portugal and he's trying to talk to the presenter, and somebody in the audience laughed. Quick as a flash, he just said, "Hey, it's cute, isn't it?" You know, and he broke the ice, and he dealt with that. He dealt with that kind of ignorance, I guess you could call it, but they don't know. It sounds funny, you know, people laugh, but he dealt with it with such great dignity, and that's why I love him. So